Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back to the pod at the Palace. Scottie Bordelon and I are here at the Natty State Sports Studio, and what we were told was a catastrophic and life-threatening ice event here in Northwest Arkansas that, at least where we're at, turned out to be, I don't know, just kind of a moderate rain.
The worst part of it was walking from my front door to the car. I didn't have any issues after that, not even leaving my own neighborhood or driving up Dixon or anything. So
right.
that was a great way to start my Monday, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of crazy. I know I woke up at about 3 o'clock last night, and I just had a notification on my Twitter that one of the meteorologists had gone live, and I saw the thing about it's a catastrophic event. It's so dangerous out. Do not drive in the morning. I sent that to you and Andrew at 3 a.m. Sorry if I woke you up, but I was like,
no,
man.
I saw it like 12 minutes later. I'm glad you sent that. But then I got on, I think it was Dan Scoff, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to his Twitter and he was going live. I think it was a little bit after 6 o'clock. My alarm went off and he's walking up and down Dixon and he's like, man, these roads have, improved so much since, I was out here at 2 a.m. or whatever. Basically 35 and raining, kind of got rid of the ice, I guess. So,
right. Well,
no complaints here.
At the end of the day, though, the skies are dreary in Fayetteville, and it's, probably a combination of the terrible January weather and, well, quite frankly, a terrible basketball team, or at least the product they're putting on the floor right now. Man, this is going to be some combination of like a vent, a roast, like a therapy session, maybe, before we try to give our thoughts on what we would do if we were in Eric Musselman's shoes. I don't know, man. Like, Scottie, the title of our last episode was, can Arkansas start stacking wins in SEC play? I think the answer to that is an emphatic no.
Yeah.
Razorbacks lost 77-64 to South Carolina at home in a game that I don't think was even as competitive as like the already lopsided score kind of indicated. No momentum carried over from that A&M game. We thought maybe they would. They just laid another complete egg, and it's kind of inexcusable in front of the home crowd again. Now we've seen Arkansas at Bud Walton lose to UNC Greensboro. They got their doors blown off, the most lopsided defeat in Bud Walton history by Auburn, 32 points. And then they just trailed from beginning to end against a South Carolina team that's 15-3. But that's a misleading record. They were without one of their better players, and quite frankly, I don't think they're that good. Before we get into an actual analysis here, if that's possible, I want to give you the floor, Scottie, to address the elephant in the room, which was Arkansas's just lack of effort, energy, enthusiasm, all those things that Musselman's kind of built this program on at home again.
I'm struggling to understand how this happens. And, that was the first thing that you mentioned on, the what we know from Media Row. And it was, I think it's what kind of everybody left Bud the other day thinking. It's just like, this team's just flat, doesn't have any juice at all. And they had Arkansas finally, T-Mark hit back-to-back threes to pull Arkansas within 6, right? And Arkansas finally got the crowd in it for what felt like the first time all day.
True.
And what we've seen over and over again is like, I guess it's just the energy and effort on defense helps you not get stops. Like, and they just they just can't. There's just something missing with this team being able to really dig deep and get just one stop, just one momentum stop. Like T-Mark he took care of the offensive part and hit a couple of momentum shots.
Provided the pop,
hit a couple momentum shots, and now it's up to the defense to, hold up their end of the deal, and they just can't, they're just unable. And mentioned it the other day too. Arkansas is officially now 105th defensively, nationally in efficiency, and it's gross.
I just can't believe that.
11th in SEC only games, last in SEC only games in offensive efficiency. They're just, I mean, we could talk about one problem, I feel like, for this entire episode, but
yeah, they're just, I mean, they're a bad basketball team right now. I mean, they just are. And I hate to say that and be overly critical. Yeah, I get it. There's 13 games left to play, whatever. Maybe they'll figure it out. But we have no reason to believe that's going to happen at this point. And we thought maybe that Texas A&M game, that was the kind of stuff that can give a team momentum and give them that jolt to kind of carry over and build on moving forward. But, in hindsight, we could also look back at it and say Arkansas played a great first half against Texas A&M, a Texas A&M team that looked slow and not ready to play. And maybe
they looked like they had to bus 45 minutes to Austin.
Right. Yeah.
Through some, some ice that they never get.
Exactly. They had some weird travel. They were coming off the high of that win over Kentucky. As much as Arkansas looked good. But I mean, the second half was essentially a disaster in that game for Arkansas. I mean, they blew a 20-point lead. Here comes Texas A&M and had it not been for the heroics of Tremont Mark, like Arkansas would have lost that game.
Yeah.
And imagine where they would be at. And that was the case.
Now you look at it and they're one shot away from being 0-5.
It's crazy
in the league.
Yeah.
And then you've got a road game against a team that's improved over last year. And then what do you know? Maybe the most talented team in America is coming to your building for game day in a week. I mean, you could potentially, without that T-mark shot, be looking at an 0-7 start.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically. But
it's
you
terrifying.
You go to the effort and energy and enthusiasm piece, I think is that might be the most troubling thing, because we've not seen issues like this with an Eric team. Like his teams have eventually bought in at some point.
Right. They've always played hard.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they've always played hard. Yes, absolutely. And Jeremiah Davenport is, he's the mercenary that gets sent to the post game the other day. He's face palming before questions or even start flying. And he's being asked all these questions about how do you get it turned around? He's like, everybody's got to buy in. That's coming from a guy that's in the locker room.
Yep.
Older guy. He's the energy guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you think it looks like energy wise to Jeremiah Davenport? Because if he's been the energy guy, it probably feels pretty flat in that locker room, I would imagine.
Dude, if you think about, are the only two times we've had Jeremiah Davenport after that South Carolina game and then after that debacle in Tulsa against Oklahoma. And he was kind of on the same wavelength.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We're not connected defensively. Like he kind of calls it how he sees it.
For sure.
And man, like it's just troubling, when you have like Minifield, for example, after that Auburn game, or when he walked in there and said, we quit. Boy, that's a red flag. You don't want to hear that. And then Davenport after this game,
especially in your freaking SEC opener,
right
at home.
Are you serious?
What do you mean? A really good crowd.
Yeah,
like you can't. Like I don't know that the team's got any pride about it.
What the hell are you talking about? You quit. And then after that Lipscomb game, where they probably should have lost that one, and Tremont Marker's up there, I think it was you that asked him, like, what is the identity and the personality of this team? And he was,
I don't have an answer for you right now.
Yeah,
is what he said.
Are you serious? Make something up.
Still stuck. That's like that comment singed into my brains.
That should have been the point where we looked at each other and went, "Oh shit!" Like they
just don't have it.
Right.
Yeah.
And we keep seeing, this kind of build, and then with Davenport to sit up there, when he's asked, like, why is this happening? And he's just like, I don't know. Like
I think what sealed it for me this obviously, could they turn it around? Sure.
Yeah, why not? But I
think it's fair to say that I don't see it happening at this point. Like we've got too much data, and my favorite metric, as much as I like to talk about these KenPom numbers, is the freaking eye test. These dudes look like they're not connected. They look like they don't have a lot of pride about them, especially on the defensive end. And then on offense, it's just they don't share the ball well, which might be an indication of a lack of connectivity and chemistry and cohesion. But I think what really pushed me over the edge the other day is I looked at you at the final media timeout of the second half, and I said, I think I'm out on this group. And it's the fact that Arkansas got hammered in the first half. They went down into halftime down a dozen.
Yep.
What does how did they respond to that? By letting South Carolina shoot almost 62% from the floor.
Yeah, they folded.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And by the way, we'll go ahead and plug ourselves here, but like the written content is coming, people. And A State Sports, we're getting the website up and running. And so
Curtis has one up right now, by the way.
Exactly.
Go ahead and read it.
So we're excited to start contributing to that. But one of the things I wrote in there was that I felt like South Carolina exhibited more energy doing their post-game TikTok videos on Nolan Richardson floor than Arkansas did the whole 40 minutes of the damn game.
Yeah.
And maybe that's harsh, but it's just true. Like they just didn't bring it. And it's just a conglomeration of bad things. Like no sooner than Musk comes out and kind of publicly commits to, look, I get it. I've got to shrink this rotation. We got to roll with the 7 or 8 guys. He plays a dozen, Scotty, in the first half because he couldn't find more than 1 or 2 at a time who would just play hard.
Yeah.
And play with some sort of focus and energy and effort. And so, he got asked if he felt like maybe that flux in the rotation is affecting the guys. And I understand that question, but I also understand it from his standpoint. I understand his answer where he said, well, what do you want us to do? Like not try different guys? Like, did you watch what was going on out there?
Like they've tried every 5-man combination though, right?
It's
at this
nuts,
point.
man. What did you say last week? Was it 50 different 5-man combinations that they tried? And I'm sure that number is higher after this game.
Right.
I mean, we had first half Denijay Harris minutes out there. So I
mean, we hadn't gotten that in what felt like, was it maybe one of the games in the Bahamas? He got tossed in there.
He
late
got
in
there
first
for a
half
second.
Memphis or Carolina, one of the two.
That's
games.
That's right. And he came in with that second unit against Wilmington when they just randomly subbed 5 guys in.
Yep.
But I don't know, man. Like I don't blame. Well, in a way, I blame us because listen, and he even said it himself. Like this kind of stuff ultimately all falls back on the coaches. Like he understands he's failed so far with this group. But where I don't blame him is just continuing to just throw crap at the wall and hope it sticks. Because at this point, like, what are you gonna do? Like, I don't see any point in us sitting here anymore and like refreshing like who is or isn't in the rotation or who should or shouldn't be. Who the hell knows? Like, I think it's just going to be a revolving door. And man, hopefully you find 5 guys who will get after it, on a nightly basis.
That's what I think I said it on the post game show. It's like, it's unfortunate basketball's rules mandate that you have to throw 5 guys out there, because at this point, I don't know that Eric's got 5 guys that, he feels great about.
It's crazy.
And so what do you even do with that? I'm literally just kind of at a loss, dude.
I just don't even know. Point. Like, I guess maybe the question I'll throw it to you is, aside from Tremont Mark, I guess we can agree on Tremont Mark. Like, is there one player that stands out to you that, has to be in there, or maybe it just has to be a consistent impact guy for Arkansas to accomplish anything noteworthy? And what I mean by that is just be competitive. Like, I don't know that at this point anybody really stands out to me. Like a few weeks ago, I would have said Trevin Brazile. Yeah. I no longer believe that until we're seeing otherwise. In fact, I'm not sure how much I would play him right now.
Yeah. Because he's not being productive in the minutes that you're on either end giving him. Yeah. I mentioned it the other day too. 7 guys took as many or more shots than him.
It just can't happen.
It's just the lack of aggressiveness. And then, he grabbed 6 boards the other day, a block and a steal, but just the 3 field goal attempts, like
that's just not going to get it done. And it is,
I don't understand it.
It's a bit irritating on our end because everybody asks about it and people rightfully want answers about it. We ask about it. Yeah. Like specifically ask about Trevin Brazile. It happened again after this game, and and he has every right to do this. And I get where he's coming from, like not wanting to single out an individual or whatever, but he doesn't answer. So when we ask about Brazile only taking 3 shots or not being aggressive or not getting it going or whatever, it becomes an answer that is kind of a catch-all for the team on, we don't cut hard. We don't work to get open. And
it's either that or, it's not about just one guy. I remember after the Lipscomb game when he had like 7 points on 6 shots or something like that. It was 6 points on 7 shots. Do you want him to be more assertive? And it's, we need everybody to be more assertive.
Right.
So it's
which I agree, but
yeah, 100% agree with that. But yeah, it's an interesting deal, man. And I think I love TB. I got to know him pretty well when I wrote a big story on him back before the season started. And it's just, this is not what I expected. You know what I mean? And as of last week, he was a projected top 20 pick according to ESPN Plus in their mock draft. And I think you cannot argue that right now he does not belong there.
No. Yeah, he
doesn't belong there. Like he's a guy that's just, it seems like he's floating through games. I think there's a not to read too much into body language or whatever, but you see that and it's pretty obvious. It's just, it doesn't seem like he can be engaged, but it just, maybe it doesn't look that way. It doesn't seem that way. It doesn't come across that way.
Maybe the most alarming thing to me about TB right now, I wish he would quadruple his shot attempts per game, but
8 in the last 2 games. 8.
That's crazy. What worries me more or stands out to me more is the effort on the defensive end. If he is matched up on somebody on the perimeter, they are driving right by him. No resistance, nothing. He's just like one of those cones, or like the guys who do the dribbling drills, and they'll put like a trash can in front, and you just kind of cross it over and go on about your business. Like, make your move and just get by this thing. It's wild, and that's why I think I said this on the post game. Like, I don't know, but it appears to me that he is either A, hurt or not completely healthy, or B, doesn't care.
Yeah.
And knowing Trevin, I don't think either one of those things would be true. Yeah, it does. Because he's such a competitive guy. So at the end of the day, something is going on there, and for the good of the team and for the good of him and his future, because he's so incredibly talented, like, he's got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so, going back to like who has to be the guy consistently alongside Tremont Mark, it's him.
Yeah.
I don't
the most logical.
I mean,
it's the most logical place to go.
Oh, brother.
So I mentioned this before we started recording. I reached out to a coach that I really respect and just asked him, from his perspective, like what does a turnaround look like potentially for Arkansas? He started with TB. He said, stop playing TB 25 plus minutes. He doesn't produce on offense. He's a major part of their defensive problems. Doesn't rotate, doesn't protect the rim, can't guard on the perimeter, awful help side defender, not a good rebounder.
True turds, man.
He said, the narrative is already starting to turn to maybe he's still nursing his knee or his ankle or whatever. He thinks that Arkansas can get better if, he plays 15 minutes or less, which is, it's a crazy thought. Like, especially think about where we were with him before the season started.
Yeah.
And where we are now. It could not be more night and day. Can't play Trevin Brazil, or you got to play him a little bit, play him like a bit rotation guy.
Right.
Trevin Brazil shouldn't be a rotation player, or a role player. You know what I'm saying?
No.
But shouldn't have said shouldn't be a rotation. He shouldn't be a role player.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the KenPom, role designations, he's not a significant contributor. He's not a go-to guy. Kind of a limited role guy now. I don't know what else 8 shots in 2 games is.
Yeah, exactly.
If not limited role guy.
Right. I mean, gosh, I'm just blown away by that. But
I'm almost tired of beating this dead horse.
I know,
but
we got to talk about something.
That's that's what a potential turnaround looks like. It's either TB really gets back to who he, believed he was at the beginning of the year. Because remember after the Duke game, he's like, you matched up against an All-American at some points in the game with Filipowski. He's like, yeah, I don't really worry about that stuff because I think I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
Like an All-America type guy. But it's fallen well short of that, in the many, many weeks since.
Yeah. I mean, I feel very much like out of answers, with the rest of these guys. And I can only imagine like what that staff feels like. And I don't feel bad for him. Like, you got to figure it out. Like, you put this roster together. They're not bought in for you right now. So like, it's on them. But I don't know. Like, the only thing Eric hasn't done at this point is start Caleb Battle.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's allergic to starting guys who haven't been playing well or at all. So might as well give him a shot in Oxford and see if it, revives his pulse or something. I don't know, dude. Let's talk about like scheme stuff here for a few minutes. Like, real quick. I mean, are you able to pinpoint anything that stands out to you offensively right now that could serve as like a quick fix or just maybe a suggestion to get this bunch going? Because it just seems like They just pass around the perimeter with just kind of casual half-ass movement until
I might just yield my time to you, the former coach, and just sit here and I'll be the student here for a second.
Well, it's just if this is what the Milwaukee Bucks run, I must not be watching the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm sorry. I just don't like.
Yeah.
What is this? And I don't know if it's scheme so much as it is just no sense of urgency. Like Muss is right. And he talked about this in the post game. Like they don't work to get open. Right. They don't set their man up for screens. They don't cut hard.
They're just easy to guard right now.
They're very, very easy to guard. Like no defense is uncomfortable trying to defend Arkansas. It's just kind of.
Have we ever said that about an opposing team's offense this year? Just like,
no,
man, Arkansas's opponent is just really easy to like. I don't feel like I've said that maybe since the Alcorn State game.
Yeah,
but maybe there were even moments in that game, where Arkansas is giving up, just silly buckets.
Yeah, and to me, if they're just not gonna, operate with the urgency required, you got to scrap this half court motion. Like this offense, it's just not working. It's just pass, jog, cut, somebody go ISO and take a bad shot. To me, I would be telling these dudes, like, when you get the rebound or when you inbound the ball, run. You create as many opportunities in transition as you can. And if you don't get anything out of your primary break, then look your ass over to the sideline and watch me put up however many fingers for the set that we're going to run. Because if you guys can't create good shots, I'm going to create them for you.
Right.
And if they don't want to run it,
I feel like one of the best things Arkansas has, especially when L. Ellis is in the game, is just letting him run up their backside in like transition or semi-transition.
Right.
Like that might be one of the best things they have.
You have to create that and go to the offensive glass.
Dude, they don't do that at all. Just dead last in league games in offensive rebound rate. And Arkansas is officially now 300th in the country in offensive rebound.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
rate for the year.
You're missing plenty of shots, so you could at least gobble some of them up.
Yeah,
and
you put up 62 shots the other day, and I think they only made
23 or
20 something.
I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was 23 of 62. So there's quite a few shots.
And how many offensive rebounds did they get in the game?
They had 8, but 3 of them were team.
Yeah.
So like off, so missed into of 2 free throws.
And I know we talked about this on the last show because we were talking about like why don't they get on the offensive glass more? It was an emphasis early in the year, and we thought maybe it's because the transition defense is stunk, and so they don't want to send a bunch of guys to the glass. They're trying to get back. Well, whether it's your transition defense or your half court defense, it still stinks. So like you might as well give yourself an opportunity to get some easy buckets and putbacks.
Do bad shots lead to like almost unoffensive reboundable? I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. It's very early.
I get it though.
But do bad shots lead to less opportunity for offensive rebounds? I guess that's the way to say it.
And it's also, I think it also goes back to the effort and the energy standpoint of it. Like, I don't know how many times Saturday I saw a contested long 2 and then 4 guys just jogging back defensively.
Right.
Nobody going to the glass. And that's just not going to get it done. And so I think the thought process maybe was this could be a, make a play team instead of a run a play team. You just can't trust them to do it.
Yeah.
And so I would just tell them, run. If you don't have anything, back it out. We're getting into a set, and I'm going to get the shot that I want and create the matchup that I want. And if you guys screw it up, then fine. But at least he has some control over it at that point. Defensively, I mean, they're just bad at it. I mean, we're 18 games in the season. They're outside the top 100. It's wild, man. Like they can't guard. And
yeah, about the only thing that they do well defensively is block shots.
Thank God for that.
Yeah. And right now they're not really sending opponents in league play anyway to the free throw line. Mm-hmm. So that's
defend without
at least
fouling.
better.
It's because they're like unmolested going to the rim, like
Yeah.
they couldn't even reach someone to foul them if they wanted
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Lots of like that's the thing. I haven't really mentioned the shots defended
Yeah.
track the other day.
God.
Something that really bugged me while I was charting this is just the number of uncontested shots that South Carolina got the other day. I had South Carolina 6 of 10 on uncontested shots. Texas A&M got 5 uncontested shots, and you let South Carolina get twice as many. And 2 of 3 uncontested threes for South Carolina. And so it's like 3 uncontested threes is still like that's too many.
Do you remember? I can't remember when it was in the game. It was in the second half, like when the wheels had already come off. And I don't know who was not matched up with the guy on the perimeter. But T-Mark was basically defending the block in transition, and he just left the big man on the block and just kind of halfway jogged out to the perimeter. And the dude he was like, what the hell is going on? He just dumped it in for an uncontested dunk. Like, that is Arkansas basketball defensively in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And we just kind of looked at each other like,
I just don't, I don't recognize there are, and Eric's right. He's absolutely right, especially defensively. There's just no traits that any of his previous teams have had. They just don't, they don't dig deep. They're not, they're not sound in the gaps. Do you remember the last time that, not that somebody got beat off the dribble, but somebody gets like ball handler beats, say T-Mark, for example, the last time a guy came in from the wing to dig down, come up with a steal? I don't remember the last time that happened. It feels like that happened a lot in the past.
Yeah. The last time I can remember, and it wasn't even that exact example, but just someone kind of anticipating and reading and making a defensive play was Devo, the one time he played well against Wilmington.
Yep.
You remember that because I remember you asked the question about it where he just, you knew the whole time. Yeah. And he just kind of cut in front of that pass and made a play. They just don't do it. And so in terms of the fix, like, when I had teams, or when we had teams at Lindenwood that struggled to guard the ball and struggled with some things defensively, we went with the pack line defense, like the Virginia special over there, because it just puts help in help position and it eliminates having to help and recover on closeouts. It just makes teams that might struggle with that lateral movement, a little bit better off in terms of guarding. And it makes teams beat you from three because you just essentially create a shell that eliminates the drive altogether.
Does Arkansas want teams taking more threes on it?
Then that's exactly it. So then my other thought is, okay, well, what else would we do? And we would, when we sucked defensively, like we would get gimmicky and we would zone. We would go 2-3, one possession. We'd go 1-2, 1-1 the next. We would half court trap. We would full court press. We'd 2-2-1. We would just mix it up over and over and over. We would even do things where we would be in a 2-3 matchup zone and we knew what the other team was running. And when the point guard got back up to the front to get the ball, we would switch to man right away in the middle of a possession, just doing things like that to make other teams uncomfortable and not know what's going on. We'd switch up ball screen coverages. We'd hedge. We would do the drop coverage. We would trap the ball screens. We would switch things and just throw in different looks to kind of, take away some of the reads and really make the opponent think. So I was like, well, maybe that's the answer. But then I go back and listen to Muss's press conference and he's like, we tried everything.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
we zoned, we manned, we switched ball screens, we iced them, we did this, we did that. And he's right. Like at the end of the day, if you can't guard and you're not playing hard enough, it doesn't matter what you do schematically. And so it's like it all comes back to that. I just don't know, Scotty, how you coach effort. Because it seems like the way to do that is by offering the bench to those who don't bring it. But if you did that, like you said, you wouldn't be able to put 5 guys on the court right now. It's just, I don't know, man.
Maybe they should just play with 4 and just see how that works. You have one less guy who's not in the right spot.
Exactly.
Or not getting blown by.
Saturday, I feel like an idiot, first of all, because when these struggles came up, at the beginning of SEC play, I kind of told myself, keep an open mind, take it game by game, but don't overreact to anything until there's a pattern. Well, the pattern has been they stink. And one win over Texas A&M, and I was kind of drinking that Kool-Aid again of, you know what? That's what they needed. They're going to figure it out. You just can't trust them. Saturday was very eye-opening to me. And fool me once, shame on me, but you're not going to get me again. I want to keep giving that benefit of the doubt, and I think Eric's great. And boy, he's figured it out time and time again. But this group is a mess.
Yeah.
Where are you at with them? I just
no. I think I'm out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm out. I'm like, obviously, still going to cover them.
Yeah.
Talk about them, write about them. But I think I'm past the point where I think they're going to figure it out. I mean, they have a track record of showing us that they're not going to figure it out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whether it's, you go back to even the Lipscomb game, up 20 plus in that game.
Should have went to overtime.
Maybe should have lost that game in regulation.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, two of your last four wins, going back to Lipscomb, you've blown a 20-point lead in and somehow found a way to win it.
Right.
But even in your wins, like, you're not convincing anybody of anything other than, you're not connected on defense. And I think the only thing we know is, Tremont Mark is, your top guy on offense, and everything else around him is just very game to game.
4 losses in the SEC, and they've all come by double digits, 2 of them by more than 20 points, 2 of them at home, and they haven't even played the good teams in the league yet, if we're really being honest. I mean, aside from Auburn,
Yeah.
They haven't seen Kentucky yet. Boy, they're about to. They haven't seen Tennessee yet. They haven't seen Bama's offense yet. Mississippi State's good. Like, it hasn't even gotten real for them yet. And they haven't really been competitive outside of one game.
And now you're about to hit a stretch where 3 of your next 4 are on the road.
Yeah.
So are you going to, like, I keep going back to, like, can you dig deep at all? I used to say during football season, when Sam Pittman kept going on 4th and short, and, the offense, he's trying to get the offense to impose its will when it has no will to impose. One of those deals. I don't know. You can't dig deep if you don't have any guts about you. You don't have any pride about you. So, I mean, I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
I mean, and it wouldn't surprise me if Ole Miss is a loss, Kentucky is a loss, and then you're looking at a 1-6 SEC start, and then you got to go to Missouri, and then you got to go to LSU.
Right. And LSU is much improved. Yeah. And Missouri stinks, but they did just beat Florida at home, and those dudes are ready to see Trevin Brazil.
They are.
So it's worrisome. I'll say this, just to give a shout out to our man Andrew Ellis. Like, he said a couple times, on John's show, like, can we all agree that if this Arkansas team figures it out and, makes the tournament, gets to the Sweet 16 again, like, we will never evaluate an Eric Musselman coach team, like, big picture until February. Like, we won't even try.
Yeah.
We'll just take it one game sample size at a time, today, this is what happened. I won't talk about where they're at in bracketology. I won't talk about where they're trending. It doesn't matter if they figure it out this year, because this is tough. And at 10-8 and 1-4 in the league, and I think they were like 118 in the net. I looked last night. They're out. Like, they're eliminated from an at-large bid unless they just do something crazy.
Yeah.
Like, really, like, we're talking 10-3, probably more better than that the rest of the regular season. What we're looking at, I think, realistically, barring a minor miracle, is the only chance those dudes are going to go to the NCAA tournament is if they win the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
And they can't.
And it's sad to say that, just like after 5 SEC games, but I think you're absolutely right. Like, it was a team that after you beat A&M, you finally get back into that considered conversation with Joe Lunardi. and then you lose at home to a team that's also on the bubble.
Right.
Like you're not showing particularly well against teams that are on the bubble, like Florida and Georgia, Texas A&M. I misspoke on the second look the other day and said they were projected to be a 5. They were projected to be a 9 the day after Arkansas beat them. So Arkansas has not been good against the bubblicious teams in the league. So
honestly,
and that's not a good look at all.
You know, they could go on the road and beat Ole Miss on Wednesday, and then they could take advantage of the atmosphere for College game day, whatever that's going to be on Saturday, and beat Kentucky, and it still doesn't move the needle for them. That's just where they're at now.
It's gonna look like a one-off.
Yeah, like they're going to have to really, really rattle some off.
Eric has talked in the past about, you know, your college teams over the course of like a 30 or 31 game schedule or whatever, probably not going to have it a couple of nights. If Arkansas gets Kentucky, people will talk about, you know, that Kentucky game being one of those 2 nights where they just didn't have it.
Yeah.
And the other one was against Wilmington.
Right. Exactly.
You did it against Arkansas and Wilmington potentially.
Right. And man, I don't know.
But nobody's going to slow down that Kentucky offense.
No.
So
hell no. Can we take a second and talk about Big Z?
Buddy, that was electric.
This dude, I have no idea what his name is, but the 7'2" Croatian kid for Kentucky that was not eligible for the first 17 games or whatever, and then they put a billboard up outside the NCAA headquarters saying "Free Z," and he finally gets cleared, and that dude was incredible, man.
I'm going to give this a shot. Zvonimir Ivisic.
I think that's it. I was listening to our favorite guy, Matt Norlander, him and Gary Parrish this morning, and they were talking about him. I think you nailed it.
Zvonimir, yeah.
7'2", like, where do you get these guys? Like, they were already arguably one of the deepest teams in the country, very young, you know, a lot of talented freshmen. And yeah, this dude comes in and he's blocking shots. He's in transition, like with behind the back, like on the dime, kick out threes.
It's like the first time he touched the basketball, he just whipped out a Harlem Globetrotter behind the back pass. And did you see the one shot inside the arc that he missed? He caught the ball at the free throw line, spin move faster than any of Arkansas's guards can pull off.
Yeah.
Went up for a dunk and missed it. But I was just like, oh my God, dude.
This dude hit 3 threes. He was blocking shots. He's getting rebounds. He got a tech for hanging on the rim on a dunk. Like, it was intense and it was exciting. And I'm looking forward in a way to seeing him in person on Saturday. But then again, I'm also not.
Yeah.
Kentucky brings this dude and Reed Shepherd and Rob Dillingham off the bench. That's their bench.
Yeah, that's silly.
Yikes, man. That's going to be an interesting game.
We are getting ahead of ourselves talking about a game that's 5 days away still, but I told y'all on the pod at the Palace, you know, before the South Carolina game, I hope he took the Kentucky Georgia over.
Yeah.
Because it was a pretty high 162, but they ended up scoring a combined 201 points.
It was like 105 to 96.
Yeah.
Like,
so I hope you took my advice on the over on that one.
Not to pat, I mean, we kind of need to pat ourselves on the back a little bit because if you listen to us talk about our predictions in any form or fashion, whether it's betting, bold predictions, or the game itself for Arkansas, we're mostly idiots. But you and I kind of nailed it on the rest of the SEC.
Yeah.
I mean, the Kentucky-Georgia over hit. We thought Kentucky would get that done. Vanderbilt covered at Mississippi State.
15 was a bunch of points.
Yeah, Tennessee took care of business against Alabama. You know, like we kind of looked like we knew what we were talking about.
Yeah, we had the Auburn hammering.
Auburn blowing out Ole Miss. Yeah. So, you know, we'll react to whatever Muss has to say if we talk to him pre-Ole Miss, but we'll kind of dive deeper into what that matchup looks like. I don't like it, but for our Wednesday morning episode, so we'll skip that for now. But before we come on again, we will have had the Tuesday night slate for SEC ball. So let's take a look at these games real quick and maybe provide our picks and then get out of here. There's only 2 games on Tuesday.
Okay.
I haven't been on KenPom to look at lines, but we've got Kentucky at South Carolina. I feel pretty comfortable in saying Kentucky's going to beat the hell out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that line's going to look like on the road. Like, they're probably still going to be what? 8-point favorites?
Yeah, I was going to say about 7 or 8 points.
Yeah.
But again, the over in Kentucky games has hit 14 of the last 15. So I mean, it almost felt like you were watching an NBA game the other day. It's just like both teams shooting damn near 60%, and Kentucky's just got guy after guy after guy after guy
never
just
ending.
rolling into the game and hitting shots. Yeah, it's tough. South Carolina is better than I thought it was going to be. The thing that bugged me the other day though was South Carolina came in here and basically punked Arkansas. Michi Johnson had 8 points.
Yeah.
On
Miles
7
Stute
shots.
didn't play.
Miles Stute didn't play. You got a dude named Zach Davis went for a dozen on you. Talon Cooper, 11 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. So he was pretty good. BJ, but like the front court guys just absolutely torched Arkansas. They put up like what their starting backcourt, BJ Mack, and then the Murray Boyles kid, combined for 29.
And then the phenom known as Josh Gray off the bench.
Yeah. Gave him 6. Yeah, just gave him 6. That's got to be.
He came in, dude. He came in right away, and it was like block shot, offensive rebound, 2 layups, and I'm just thinking, kidding me with this guy?
Yeah, all of that to say, Arkansas couldn't handle him, but Kentucky will.
Oh yeah. The other game, Missouri, who was it their first SEC win? Maybe so. Over Florida at home, but they got to go on the road to see Texas A&M. Texas A&M just beat
Missouri
LSU.
Lost to Florida.
They did lose to Florida?
Yeah, by a dozen.
Oh, they did. Man, I just completely overlooked that then. Okay.
Yeah. So we called that one.
Yeah, so they're really struggling then.
8-10 overall, 0-5 in the league.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so they're going to go down to College Station and get beat up on.
Yeah, Ken Palm's got it as a 10-point spread at the moment.
Yeah, I might go A&M to cover that if they can make some shots. But I look at A&M, the offensive rebounding team, and I look at Missouri, who starts 6'6" Noah Carter at center. Second chance points are going to come in bunches, I think, for the Aggies in this.
Yeah,
one.
Missouri's defense is dead last in SEC games. So Missouri's defense is last in efficiency in league games, effective field goal percentage allowed, 13th in offensive rebound rate. Last in sending teams to the free throw line, last in 3-point field goal defense, and opponents are shooting like over 80% at the free throw line. So there's not just exactly a whole lot going right for Missouri, and so I don't see why A&M couldn't win by double figures in that game.
Maybe that's who Arkansas needs to see. Actually,
is Missouri?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Maybe that could light a fire under Trevor Brazile.
Exactly. Maybe that's it.
You know what I mean? He just like the hate.
We'll circle that on the calendar.
He's fueled by the haters fuel him. You know what I mean?
I really want to go, especially if Arkansas, maybe they win a game or two here. I don't know. But I would like to just be in that environment in Columbia just to see firsthand like what it's like for him.
Yeah.
And they don't like Arkansas
I just wonder
either,
though what the environment is going to look like if Missouri basketball keeps trending the way that it is.
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
like
we're
1-7 Arkansas and 0-8 Missouri for
yeah.
Gosh, man. Unless we get a Connor Vanover legacy game, the Tigers are going to get beat at Texas A&M for sure. Anything else you want to get off your chest? Or do you feel better after just ripping about this a little bit?
I don't feel better because we've got to watch this again in a few days.
I feel like I said what I needed to say. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly is going to change.
Man.
But yeah, I tracked the shots defended and the potential assists and whatnot. I had Arkansas's potential assist leader the other day was L. Ellis with 5, which is not good. I think I had 20 for the entire game. And then, just it bugs me too that, a few days after, Tremont Mark and Devo Davis have really good games, defending shots. They gave up a combined 6 buckets the other day against Texas A&M on 28 shots. And then against South Carolina, Devo gave up 3 buckets on 3 shots defended, including 2 threes on 2 attempts. And T-Mark gave up 4 buckets on 5 shots defended, including 2 threes on 3 defended.
Against worse players.
Yeah,
that's effort.
Yeah.
It's effort and focus.
Just a complete lack of consistency. Like you feel like we were talking about is T-Mark maybe, potentially turning the corner as a defender, and then just it doesn't translate. And then TB, tied tied with T Mark and Chandler Lawson with 4 buckets given up. That was the most of individual players. But Chandler Lawson at least defended 12 shots, so it was 30. He was looking at 33%, but Trevor Rizzo gave up 4 on 8 shots. So it's just not pretty. It's consistently not pretty. That's the one thing that you can bank on.
Yeah, man,
I think I got it off my chest now.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah, coming into this, we were like, hey, this is going to be a vent and a therapy session and a roast, and it kind of was all of those things. And we also did try to at least offer, maybe put ourselves in Muss's shoes and see what we would do. I think I'm probably just most fascinated going into this Ole Miss game to see who plays and if anything changes. I don't know, but we'll come back on Wednesday. Have it in your feed Wednesday morning, previewing this Ole Miss game. It's going to be a tough matchup for Arkansas. Anything is a tough matchup for Arkansas right now, but these guys in particular, I don't think that's who you want to see when you're kind of reeling the way the Razorbacks are. But maybe we'll talk to Muss between now and then. Maybe we won't. But at any rate, we will be back to talk to all you guys on Wednesday. This has been Curtis Wilkerson and Scottie Bordelon with Natty State Sports. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to the pod at the Palace.